Kukuka here with another Sims 4 decorating challenge. If you've been here before, you know I do not build. The gallery information for this stunning apartment complex is on the screen. I'll also link to the original build video in the cards, so you should go and check that out, give some love to the original creator, and you'll see that the interior decorating was really good. But I wanted a cool lot to do my challenge on, so I went in and deleted everything, except for the things that would come with an apartment. I kept counters, fridges, plumbing, light fixtures, and I made it a rule that I couldn't change anything about like the layout or the paint or anything like that. We are renting this space. And the challenge that we are doing is the Every Apartment is a Random Sim challenge, except that we're only doing one apartment today because I am the world's slowest decorator. You guys, I didn't build anything, I didn't do any layout, and this took me 6 hours. But that's fine because I had a good time and I listened to a bunch of PG Woodhouse audiobooks while I worked on it. Do recommend listening to PG Woodhouse audiobooks. So this challenge involves generating traits for a random sim. I used James Turner's random traits generator, which gave me the traits Goofball, Ambitious, and Maker, and the aspiration Mansion Baron. I did create the sim in CAS, and I posted that video as a short, so you can check that out. I think it came out super cute. And I kept all of these traits in mind as I designed the apartment. Obviously, I got really lucky because like Ambitious and Mansion Baron clearly go together, and Maker gave me a good insight into like what sort of career the sim would be throwing himself into. Although I did decide that because he's living in an apartment, even though his dream is someday to live in a mansion, he's still like early on in his journey, and somehow that set me all the way back to he's still in college. So his dream is to become a civil designer, since that involves like fabricating and is one of the highest paying jobs in The Sims. It's actually above doctor. But right now he's going to Rochester University for a communications degree. This apartment does not, I hope, look like it was decorated by a 20-something-year-old guy. But my story is that his parents told him that they would pay for him to go to college, but then he did so well in high school because of his ambition that he qualified for like all kinds of scholarships. All of his classes and his textbooks were paid for, and he even got like extra money. And so his parents told him that instead they would pay for an apartment and they would furnish it. And because, you know, his parents were paying for it, his mother came in and like helped with some of the decorating. Some of it is definitely him. There are some things in here that I do think feel kind of college student-y, but some of the layout and like the rugs and things, not so much. I see him as being really close with his parents. There's a cookie jar on the kitchen table that made me think his mother sends him homemade cookies every week, which I thought was cute. One of the things that does feel 20-something-year-old guy in our design though is that he collects Trashly art. Not trashy art. Art from Trashly, the group of raccoons in a trench coat. I found them in the debug catalog and I just thought they fit so well with the goofball trait. Because our sim is a maker, there were a few skills that he would probably be interested in. I wanted to get a woodworking table in here, but I never did fit one because I decided I wanted a juice fizzer instead. And I've got juice like scattered around the apartment. Some of it that obviously like he's drinking. I imagine he's like trying it out, trying to get like the perfect recipe. Somewhere in here there's like a notebook lying by a juice bottle, like he's taking notes on the flavor and stuff. But then he also has some like packaged up, like he's gonna sell those as a side hustle. This is a sim who would have a lot of side hustles. I imagine that he doesn't cook, so the kitchen is actually pretty barren except for like a little bit of juice, a coffee maker, and then some Zoomers delivery bags, because that's how he gets all his food. He does, however, grow his own herbs, which he uses in the juice. I went to the gallery and searched for herb garden, and then I just downloaded a couple and used those plants. It was super helpful. And I found out that the new fairy pack, the little like indoor planters, can hold herbs, which I think is a super cute way to do an herb garden. I just filled in the plants at random, but then I looked at the like juice recipes to see what those plants would make, and you could craft the playful juice and the focus juice with those plants. And those are like the two moods our sim would want to be in, because playful is good for like comedy goofball things, and focus is good for like crafting, woodworking, and logic, which is necessary for the career he wants to go into. So I just happened to grab the plants that he would want. Also, he has a little herb garden in the kitchen, but he didn't put a rug down there, and so I added some of the like water damage to the floor. He's not getting his deposit back. This apartment does have a kind of strange layout. I think 1.5 bathrooms for a 1-bedroom apartment is kind of weird, especially because neither of the bathrooms is an ensuite, but it was kind of fun to work with. I set up the living room for like video gaming, and I just imagine that this guy has like a core group of friends that he always hangs out with. The controllers are scattered around, and one of them is actually hidden under the end table. Like it got lost and no one knows where it is, and so they can only play 3-player right now. This is my storytelling, mostly because we're always missing a video game controller at my house. I literally cannot find my other Xbox controller, and I'm losing my mind. I don't really have anything in the build to reflect this, but one of my storytelling things is that this character is a goofball as a defense mechanism. I just imagine that he was like teased a lot growing up, and so he got really into comedy as a way of like deflecting and hiding his insecurities. And I think he's a real sweetheart. I do think he's perpetually single, mostly just because he's too like insecure to seek out a relationship. But I did go through his like likes and dislikes when I was making him in cast, and like his turn-ons, and I made him like really interested in like artsy girls. And so I'm kind of hoping that, you know, somehow when I do the next randomly generated sim, I get someone super artsy, because I think that would be cute. Like I'm imagining him falling in love with his across the hall neighbor, but I have no idea who that's gonna be, so we'll see what happens. There could be like full-on lore in this apartment complex. I did the office by that big window, which I think is super pretty. Be nice to like sit and gaze out while you work. I do not know why this sim has a filing cabinet. I was trying to figure out like what he would need that much storage for. Maybe he collects like blueprints and like design schematics for cities and stuff as he's learning to be a civil designer. Oh, maybe he also collects the instructions for models. Scattered around the apartment are like the Star Wars spaceship models, and I just imagine that he like puts them together and paints them. There's a little bottle of paint and a paintbrush by one of them, like he's been working on it at the table. That just seemed like a hobby he would be super into since he's a maker. I still think the filing cabinet is a little odd though, but it just fit that space really nicely, and it somehow seemed to fit the character. The other little detail about our boy is that he was into chess in high school. He's got a chess trophy. I feel like I was going somewhere with that, but like, nah, that's just it. He likes chess. There's also a chess table on the porch. He's a nerd. He's into gaming. He's into chess. He's into models. I could see him having like a D&D group. I want D&D in The Sims. I wonder if there's a mod for that. Okay, I've been watching The Big Bang Theory, and they play Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit on that show because it's like about nerd culture, but they play wrong. Unless there's a version of D&D that is very different from what I've played, they do it where the DM is the only one who ever rolls dice, and it just hurts me. Especially because the characters in the show, if they watched a show where they played D&D wrong, they would get mad. That had nothing to do with this, except I do think our little sim who lives in this apartment has like a D&D group. I really want to make like his whole clique of friends. I just think there's like a little group of guys who come over to play video games and watch movies and play D&D, and they're super like tight-knit, but they all come to his place because he's the only one who has like his own apartment. I really should have made a roommate for him when I realized he was a college student, but that like didn't occur to me until I had already done this, and I really like how it turned out, so I didn't want to make any changes. And this is The Sims. I know we like to lean into realism, but part of the fun is having it not be realistic and letting a 20-something afford his own apartment. I tried to really lean into his personality since that is like the whole point of the challenge. I didn't see him as a slob or super neat. Like there's definitely clutter around, especially like on the kitchen table. That's where he like works on his projects, I guess. There are some like seed starters and a model he's working on and some homework. Like that's just where all of his stuff goes. But I don't see it as being like dirty or anything like that. You know, he lives in like a comfortable, realistic middle ground. Back to realism. Anyway, I have probably rambled enough. I'm gonna go into the screenshots. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought of the design, of the sim, of the story. If you guys have any other ideas for this character's story. Also, I am planning on doing every apartment is a random sim, but if you would rather me do a different challenge for the other apartments, I would be amenable to that. So let me know like which one you would prefer, if you have a preference, if you have any thoughts at all, if you want to tell me your favorite flavor of yogurt, post it in the comments. I would love to hear. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next episode. Bye!